Hi Year 11, today what we're doing is looking at solving quadratic equations by the quadratic formula. So for some quadratic equations we can't factorise them, so we use the quadratic formula which we can find on our reference sheet. So for the equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, the quadratic formula is x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Let's have a look at our first one. So if we were to solve x squared minus x minus 2 equals 0 using the quadratic formula, how we do this is we have to identify what our a, b and c are. So our a is equal to our coefficient of x squared, which is 1. Our b is equal to our coefficient of x, which is minus 1, and our c is our constant, which is negative 2. We then want to copy out our quadratic formula, which is x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Then what we want to do from here is we want to substitute in our a, substitute in our b, and substitute in our c into our formula. When we do this, we're left with x equals minus, now b is negative 1, plus or minus the square root of negative 1 squared minus 4 lots of our a of 1 times our c of negative 2, all over 2 lots of our a of 1. So our x is then equal to negative times negative 1 is just positive 1, plus or minus the square root of negative 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 2 is 9, all over 2 lots of 1 is just 2. So then we have x equals 1 plus or minus the square root of 9 is 3 over 2. And so then we need to look for our positive and our negative version. So our positive version is when we have 1 plus 3 over 2, and our negative is when we have 1 minus 3 over 2. So x will equal 1 plus 3 over 2 is 2, and 1 minus 3 over 2 is negative 1. Okay, pause the video here and have a go at solving 8x squared minus 10x plus 3 equals 0. So for this, we have that our a is our coefficient of x squared, which is 8. We then have our b is our coefficient of x, which is 10, or negative 10 even. And then our c is our coefficient, or our constant, which is just equal to positive 3. What we then want to do, once we have identified our a, b and c, is copy down our quadratic formula, x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So x is equal to minus b, which is minus bracket negative 10, plus or minus the square root of negative 10 squared minus 4 lots of a of 8, lots of c of 3, all over 2 lots of our a of 8. This is then equal to x equals 10 plus or minus our surd turns into root 4. So that's negative 10 squared minus 4 times 8 times 3 is equal to 4, and 2 times 8 is 16. We then know that root 4 is equal to 2, so we have 10 plus or minus 2 over 16. We look at our positive version, which is 10 plus 2 over 16. We look at our negative version, which is 10 minus 2 over 16, to get our answers for x to be 3 over 4 and 1 over 2. Okay, our next and last example is when we have 2y squared minus 9y plus 3. So our a is our coefficient of y squared, which is 2. Our b is our coefficient of y, which is minus 9. And our c is our coefficient, or our constant, which is equal to positive 3. We then need to copy out our quadratic formula. So our quadratic formula is x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, and then we need to substitute in our a, our b's, and our c. When we do this, we're left with x equals minus negative 9 plus or minus our square root of negative 9 squared minus 4 lots of 2 lots of 3 all over 2 lots of 2. We now want to simplify this, so we get x equals 9 plus or minus the square root of minus 9 squared minus 4 lots of 2 lots of 3 is root 57 all over 4. So we can't simplify root 57 in our surd, and we've been asked to give our answer correct to 2 decimal places. So there's no point going any further with this and simplifying it. What we need to do is we need to substitute, or we need to find our positive version, which is when we have our plus, so and 9 plus root 57 on 4, and our negative version, which is 9 minus root 57 on 4. So when we do this and we put these into our calculator, 9 plus root 57 on 4 is equal to 4.137458,609, and 9 minus 57 on 4 is equal to 0.36254 ... And so because we've been asked to answer to 2 decimal places, our answers are x equals 4.14 because the 7 rounds up the 3, and 0.36. Alrighty, pause the video and have a go at solving 3y squared minus 11y plus 8 equals 0 by the quadratic formula, and give your answer correct to 2 decimal places. So you should have identified your a to be 3, your b to be negative 11, and your c to be 8. What we want to do is write out our quadratic formula, x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So x is equal to minus negative 11 plus or minus the square root of negative 11 squared minus 4 lots of 3 lots of 8, which is all over 2 lots of our a of 3. So x equals 11 plus or minus the square root of 25 all over 6. We know that the square root of 25 is equal to 5, so we'll have 11 plus or minus 5 all over 6, which is equal to 11 plus 5 over 6 and 11 minus 5 all over 6. So for x, we get 11 plus 5 all over 6 is 2.666667, and 11 minus 5 over 6 is equal to 1. So to 2 decimal places, 2.67 is our first answer, and we have 1 as our second answer. What you guys are going to do from here is you're going to complete exercise 208, questions 1 to 2, and you're acing it.